Okay, sounds good. Oh, we're live? Okay. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this current Thrive stream. Oh, someone joined. And yeah, welcome. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 devs here. A lot of them have microphones, so you'll be hearing a lot of speaking now. I am Deuce. I am a member of the game design team. I help with creating concepts and developing the ideas behind Thrive. And from here on now, we'll go with introductions. C09, he's one of our programmers here, and he can type something in the chat as well if he wants. But he's been really helpful with nailing a lot of the smaller, useful, very useful features and controls that have been sitting around for a while. After that, we have Hexapod Philosopher. I'm not sure if he has the mic. I'll wait a second to see if he does.
Oh.
Yep, he does. Hello. Do you want to introduce yourself, or?
Yeah. So I'm Hexapod. I been continuing to do graphical stuff. Probably been over most of the at least 3D graphical things in the game by this point. Still working on lots of things. My to-do list seems to grow faster than I get anything finished, but yeah, lots to carry on with, and looking forward to adding more stuff.
Yep, he was the guy who released a lot of the new phosphate models we have in the game right now. So there's more coming from him. So exciting times. Next we have Hire Lehman, who is our Herculean programmer, to introduce himself.
I think you may have skipped a.
Oh yeah, he joined just now.
Yeah, newcomer. I'm not sure how we should pronounce
Gligger. I'll say it like that, and hopefully that sounds okay. Do you have a mic? You're going green, but I don't think we can hear you. In the meantime, though, I'll just say that he is working a lot with graphics and is working on, the 3D metaballs that have been introduced recently. He's been really critical for that and has been working on 3D membranes for cells. So a lot of exciting stuff there too. Let's see if he has a mic. We'll wait a few seconds. And if it doesn't work, if it works afterwards, then we can go back to you if you want to say more stuff. Or you can type in the chat if you want. Still issues hearing, so I'll move on to Hire Lehman, but
Yeah,
afterwards, if your mic starts working, we'll go back to you.
I guess I can do my introduction in the meanwhile while we wait for the hero of people to find a working mic. I said hero of the people because I jokingly said that already in some comment somewhere where I was referring to the finally getting the convolution surfaces done. I think a lot of people are going to be really happy to see those finally in the game. But anyway, I'm Yrläinen, the main programmer for Thrive. I do a lot of the programming, and also I review all of the work that other programmers do to make sure it's good quality and likely won't cause as many future issues than if the changes weren't reviewed. For this release, I've been working on a wide assortment of random stuff, but mostly I tried to finish all of the 0.6 roadmap items so that we can move on to the 0.7 releases, and also I had to do a lot of reviewing pretty big pull requests as we had the auto-evo refactoring and of course the convolution surfaces.
Yep. Arlen and I'll go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just about to say that maybe that's enough of an introduction, so we can move on.
Okay. Harlinen is the coat we all ride on, so big up. Next we have Iosono, I believe it's pronounced. Sorry if it's incorrect, but if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. It's Io sono Neon.
Yos.
It's yeah, because I'm Italian and I heard that I should probably change that because everybody who isn't Italian get it wrong. Anyway, I'm the guy who worked on the new compound cloud plane shader, and I co-developed it with the Game Dungeon pretty much, and yeah, I'm responsible for the new look of the clouds, and I'm currently working on trying to convert the system into a more efficient one because we now have GD extensions which can be far more performance effective. So I'm working on that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, he's one of our newer programmers. Came in this past release cycle, so he's been doing a lot of great work already.
Thank you, Pat.
Game Dungeon has joined. I'm not sure if they have a microphone now. Or if they want to type something in the chat.
I think Game Dungeon usually doesn't have a mic.
This is
Okay.
the first time with a mic.
Oh my god, he speaks. Well, introduce
new
yourself.
era has begun.
Yeah. Well, welcome. If you'd like to introduce yourself, we've been going through the introductions so far, and you just joined, so it'd be your turn. Can you hear, or?
Oh, I stepped away for 1 second.
Oh, okay. Our bad. I was just saying we were going through introductions, so if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh, hello, I'm Game Dungeon. I did most of the Mish port along with them. And that was the main thing I did.
Yeah. Well, welcome. I'm surprising to hear you have a microphone. Next, we have Livestream Music, who's playing our music currently, as a bot. And now we have Fim, who's been with us for a while at this point.
Yeah, I think since, 2021 at this point.
Yeah.
I've not been super active recently. I did a few minor things, tried to finally fix my sin of correcting the turning, and it was wrong, and maybe it's right this time, let us know. And I've been backing up Game Dungeon with the Auto Evo refactor, although Game Dungeon definitely gets the credit for most of the code there.
Yep. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for being with us for this live stream for both developers and for the audience. Now we cover what is new in the release, right?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
post the links for anyone who doesn't have the patch notes already.
Okay. Great. I'll wait a tiny bit, and then I'll start covering over what's new to the release. If you want to put it on the live stream screen or something. Actually, no, they have the link. Okay, so biggest new feature, and everyone else, feel free to step in if you feel like I'm missing or neglecting something. Our biggest new features, I'd say, is probably, the inclusion of a new auto evo algorithm, and the introduction of convolution surfaces. And this is a very, very expansive update on Thrive. So honestly, there's been a lot going on, which is very good news. But now, instead of having in the macroscopic prototype clumps of circles, essentially being your organism, they now have a continuous, fully present skin over the top of them. So they look vaguely like worms or other creatures if you have more artistic abilities and more dedication towards making a structure. This is a very exciting inclusion because the future of the macroscopic stage will be dependent on the skin. It's how we will be representing the shapes of organisms in a way that isn't just spheres or pre-made models. So very exciting news. Also, we have Auto Evo being revamped, which has done great things. Oh, here's an example of a very
Long mascot,
interesting looking
but
creature. Yeah. It's cyan and purple. Who built this? Do we know? Or is it from the community?
made this.
Nice. And next we have an Auto Evo reconfiguration, which Game Dungeon and Finn will probably explain best if you guys would like to step in.
How that works now is there is a tree of different pressures that affect that score each species of how effective they are at different tasks, and we create a tree of those. So we say it can like eat glucose effectively. It can like go and grab like glucose clouds, or it can like hunt other species, and it creates a tree that optimizes each species for like each different set of pressures down the tree.
Yeah, it was newly introduced. Oh, if Finn wanted to speak, he unmiked his or unmuted himself. It seemed like.
Okay, you're very sensitive to that. Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yep.
it tries to focus in on what kind of evolutionary pressures that we know through biology would be pushing on an organism, and not like look at everything all at the same time, just to save down on computation cycles and make this possible for the kind of bold stuff we want to do with Thrive. So I think it already has a pretty big effect in microbe stage, but it's really built for the later stages to have more potential.
Previously, it just generated a bunch of completely random species and tested them with a heuristic function. Now it is much more specialized in how it's creating and testing the species. Oh, the other big thing is the mutation code now takes into account MP. So Auto Evo is now limited to the player's progression speed.
Yeah.
Isn't that
I'll go ahead.
except if you play in hard mode, then it's like faster?
It's, yeah, like the mutation, I'm forgetting the exact name of the setting, but the one that people would set at 300% so species mutated faster, now we'll give it extra MP. And I think it's a little faster in hard mode. It's tweakable in the settings if you want to.
I think it's 130 MP in hard mode. I mean, the important point here is the sacred 100 mutation points rule has been broken for AI, sadly.
Not sadly. It makes it more challenging for people wanting more challenge, but it's a bit out of
Sacrifices
the
must be
dogma,
made.
I guess. Yep. If no one else has anything else to add, one thing I guess we should say is that it's a newer implementation of one of the most fundamental parts of our game. So there will likely be things that need to be tweaked, patched up, which is where feedback from the community would be really appreciated. But yeah, we have a very robust and solid Auto Evo simulation now. Other aspects which were expanded upon, sprinting is now implemented, which allows you to have a bit of a speed boost at the cost of measurement we call strain, which is basically an excessive ATP burden on you, where the longer you do it, the more your organism will be taxed energy-wise. So that makes moving around a bit more than just pointing the mouse and pressing W, which hopefully will make a lot of things a lot more interesting than just floating around from cloud to cloud. We also have the mucocyst, which is a new part, which essentially acts as a very robust but short-lived shield now, where you are immune to a lot of damage and engulfment while it is activated, at the cost of mobility and some cellular functions. It is a upgrade to the slime jets, so it's a expansion on our variant and upgrade system. We also have pretty requested feature a lot of times. The process panel has a some sort of function applied to it where you can stop or pause or start processes at will. So if for some reason you decide to stop iron respiration, or you wish to, then that's very possible now, and it allows you to kind of streamline your organism's efficiency. It's not mandatory, but it does help if you're looking for that level of fine-tuned control. And there were several smaller tweaks too that are pretty significant, including a healing cooldown, or a pause before regeneration starts, which makes combat a bit more tense and makes things like toxins more effective. Whereas before, you shoot a toxin at an AI, and the AI would take damage, but it wouldn't do a lot of damage realistically because it heals pretty quickly. Now it's a bit of a break between when the damage occurs and when the healing starts. So hunting and combat is a bit more consequential as a result. Here's CO09 put a nice explanation of the meat tree structure, which shows some of how the architecture is organized when it comes to describing organisms. Another pretty noticeable feature is also compound clouds having a reworked texture, which Iosona would probably explain best. I'll explain now where it's the texture has been reworked and the compound clouds are a bit more clear and have a bit of contrast.
Yeah. I first had to see how the work in game first. They looked like this in previous iteration of the game. They look this way. Then after a few tweaks, I got something like this one. But I got a lot of inputs from Game Dungeon and other people, and it wasn't a good result. So I kept tweaking, and I finally got something like this. And then from this design I worked on, and we got the shader now and the cloud visual that we have in 0.70, so 0.7 whatever, and that's it.
Yep, there was a step-by-step presentation of the changes that occurred. It was very in-depth, so
I've been working for a bit, because it wasn't that easy to tune the clouds so that they wouldn't break, and we also had a problem with the way vector works in Gada, but we figured it out and we managed to handle it pretty well.
yeah, well, our clouds are notoriously one of the more difficult things to work with, from what I hear. I'm someone who doesn't have much software design or programming experience, so I don't really know firsthand, but it's great to see that being worked on, especially since it was such a long-standing issue that we had in the past, 3 years or something like that, since that one update that kind of made them look a bit more broad. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And one other thing I'll mention explicitly here is that migration has been reworked a bit too, where now you can move your species without moving your own playing experience from patch to patch. So you can make it so that a population in a patch that you're not currently playing in moves to another adjacent patch, which allows more strategic and free movement in terms of managing your population and habitable range, things like that, which will definitely be a very useful feature, especially as we introduce compound or environmental tolerances. And yeah, there's more features. This is a very feature-packed release, so please do check out the patch notes. But those are kind of the big items, I'd say, for now. If anyone else wants to bring up anything that I forgot, then go ahead.
Did you mention the red screen flash when you take damage?
Oh, I was actually. Oh wow, yeah. I was actually unaware of that.
wanted to highlight that
Okay.
feature. Like after you play with that for a while, that just starts to feel natural, and it's been in the game just for like 2 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. That's something that kind of like I got used to quickly that I didn't notice before. But yeah, there's a red screen flash when you get damaged. So
Yeah. I mean, for me, like each release has quite many like these pretty like subtle changes but if you like go back one drive version or two and play that for a little bit, you notice that wow, it's so much like worse. Like there's these like very important parts of the gameplay that are missing the older version.
yeah, well, it snuck past my neurons or attention, I guess. So look at that, we have that.
Speaking of damage, you can engulf while out of ATP now.
Oh yeah. That's a good call out then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also a thing that people have been wanting for quite many years, or like at least they have been commenting that it's annoying that when they are out of ATP and there's something to eat like right next to you, but you just die because you can't eat it. So now I think we have a solution for that, like game design problem finally.
Yep, it allows things to be a bit more clutch if you guys find some last minute relief. It does cost health points if you enter engulfment when you have no energy, which is an additional cost you must manage. But it's a lot better than just starving to death when you have a chunk of iron or food right next to you. Oh, and something else I think that is nice to bring up that C09 and you, Hirelinen, have worked on a bit. Chunks are a bit more balanced now, where if you kill an organism, you're able to engulf it better. The sizes are a bit more approachable, and two, they have a bit more compounds, I believe, in them. So that makes it a trophy a
There
bit more
was a
balanced.
pretty embarrassing math failure in the code, where one number was multiplied by 1.5 instead of 2. So the actual engulfing sizes didn't match what they were supposed to be, because one multiplier was wrong.
Did we bring up phosphate chunks?
Oh crap! I brought it up introductions, I think, but
Okay.
not in actual things. Yeah, good call. We have phosphate chunks now in the I think ocean floor and hydrothermal vents, or at least in the deeper patches, which were developed by a hexbot philosopher. You have, if he would like to expand on that, he can, but if not,
Yeah, I can talk about that. So it was something that I particularly wanted to add for quite a while, and there were other people suggesting that it would be worth doing. I think I mentioned it in the last stream that I was working on it then, and yeah, it's an extra way to get extra phosphate, so it can sort of balance out the extra ammonia that organisms with nitrogen fixing organelles can get. So it actually makes them a bit more useful. So it can actually help you to grow your organism faster and then reproduce faster. And I focused on a couple of different real world minerals, struvite and apatite, which I looked up all the information I could find on kind of how and where they form, and tried to sort of make it sort of fairly realistic which patches they would be likely to appear in based on their kind of acidity levels and so on. And it's both of them are mainly in lower lying areas, areas where there's likely to be more kind of organic build-up over time. Try to make them look quite varied. Add some a bit more color, a bit more sort of shininess and variety. to the patches. I'm quite pleased with them overall, but still had a bit of a struggle with getting Godot to kind of actually display the sort of the crystal element of them exactly as I would like. There are kind of issues with taking control of transparency levels in the engine, which is unfortunate. So I've spent a lot of time kind of wrestling with that, but had to kind of keep telling myself, well, there's not really much that I can do with it at the moment. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good, and yeah, I think it adds much needed sort of variety and color and usability.
Yeah, absolutely. It can oftentimes be a bit of a void if you keep swimming around enough with just iron chunks, if even that. So it is a very good thing to add a lot of richness in terms of visuals in the markup stage. And I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but there are two phosphate chunk types. There's ones that are pretty small and engulfable, and other ones that emit phosphate clouds from them, kind of like the iron nowadays. Yeah, there's some variety in chunk pattern there too. And yeah, I think that's largely most of what is in the release, unless someone wants to add more. There's a new experimental rework of Iron that is in the experimental features game mode. So if you guys have feedback on that, that'd be awesome to hear on the forums and Discord. But yeah, that should be it, largely. Okay, I guess we move on to questions now.
Yeah, we have covered quite a lot of stuff. I think we could maybe preemptively quickly cover what is probably in the next release, because I think there's going to be a question about that. I don't actually know because I haven't read the questions yet, but I'm going to take a guess that someone is going to ask about future plans.
The chat question did, if nothing else.
Okay, yeah. I'll post links to the roadmap. It's now actually looks quite a bit different than before because the 0.6 milestone has been completely done, so it has been removed from the roadmap. And we will be going to the 0.7.x roadmap area.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I guess in general I can say that like we'll start working on these editor GUI parts and other stuff like that that's like listed here in the roadmap. I don't specifically know what anyone is wanting to work on yet, and I'm not sure myself because there's been so many random new things popping up on my to-do list recently that like the first thing for me for the next release will be to upgrade us to Godot 4.3 and stuff like that, but we'll be working on bunch of features, and also there's already quite many items crossed off the list as they've been like worked on before we got to this area of the roadmap.
Yep, a lot of the next releases will focus on information accessibility and making sure that players have the tools they need to interrogate what's going on in the world, in terms of in the future patch changes, issues with their own cell in terms of energy reliability, recommendations for parts, things like that. So that will allow us, when more dynamic features are implemented, and even now, when some people struggle with, okay, what do I add to my cell now? It will help a lot with clarifying that confusion. And also, I think it is good to say that, the focus of prior releases, which was 6.0's combat and abilities focus largely, it moving on to the next phase of the project, just means that our main programmer, Harlinen, will now focus on finishing those aspects of the game. It doesn't necessarily mean that things we implemented in 6.0 are set in stone. So if you have feedback on that, do give feedback. But our primary developer will be focusing on different things to make sure that the markup stage can be completed at a reasonable time. So all this is to say that keep giving feedback on things that we implemented before, because we'd love to hear if there's anything people have to say.
Yeah, and there's actually a few balance-related issues open that will hang around in the release milestones until someone balances stuff like the AI sprinting properly and like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And combat balancing as a whole, it's a continuous thing with new features. So there'll be changes to that. And, if other programmers go back on concepts and think, oh, I want to implement this ability, then that could be a new feature in the future. But it's just to say that it's not the primary focus right now, basically.
Yeah, we are trying to get through the microbe stage.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't get held up on every single detail.
Yeah, and looking at the roadmap, I think we are in pretty good shape to be like almost 100% certain that like at the latest in 2025 sometime microbe stage will be complete.
Well, there's a soundbite for all the community to clip onto, so save this time frame in the live stream for future
at
reference.
least the 0.7 roadmap doesn't have that many like big items, so that's probably going to be like finished by the end of this year. So
a lot of 0.8 is pretty easy, and then you just have planet generation at the top.
Well, yeah, that has a few scary features for me, so I'm not going to promise that that's going to be also done soon, but I think by early 2025 the micro roadmap is going to look pretty empty, so going to be like almost done.
Yep, well, you heard it here first. Well, not first, because we've been saying it before, but here's vocal confirmation of it.
You heard it here again. 2025. Yep. Something microbe.
Thrive is finished. 2025. You're welcome.
What?
Yep. All right. I guess we move on to questions now.
Yeah, we can do that. So first we had the priority questions. I'll get those up on stream if someone wants to read those, but of the forum thread right now.
I can read them.
Yeah, the priority questions from Doom Lightning, who is supporting us on Patreon, make it game possible.
Oh yeah, Doom Lightning is always a great contributor on the forums, and he has a lot of forum games. I know that much. So, shout out to him. Okay. I have it pulled up. Okay? He's showing it on the stream. Okay. So this is Doom Lightning. We'll proceed with the questions. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for. Me next time I answer. Thank you for your birthday gifts. Oh, happy birthday, if it is your birthday. In return, here are my questions. Number 1, what is the most trivial thing that happens in your streams? Or alternatively, the strangest thing that happened in one of your streams that happened to you and you remember? Oh man, we are strange people, so there's a lot of strange things that happen.
We did rickroll ourselves once.
When was that?
It's a while ago.
Was that Buckley? I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was a year or two ago. It just kind of blasted on the stream. I don't know if it got on the record. I vaguely recall Buckley self-referencing though.
Buckrolling, that's a cool nickname. Also, our conversations.
Episode 24, that's 2 years ago.
Episode 24. Wow, we have episodes. 2 years ago. Wow, time flies.
I've tried to sit down.
5.9.
So go ahead.
The another thing that always happens to us every once in a while, though it's been happening less and less frequently, thankfully, is that mention of a specific topic that we always go into depth about. Which I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but I'm not trying to say it for fear of bringing it up again and starting another conversation.
Depth. Nice one.
Depth. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we're a pretty tame podcast. You know, we're a bunch of geeks at the end of the day, so we're not going crazy, realistically. Okay, I'll move on to the second question. With the discovery of dark oxygen and possibilities for hazards, I assume that's hazards, or superior environmental developments, will you have a plan in the future to make patches that have more unique environmental conditions only for them or her? Doesn't have to be completely new. These are an existing patch with something random and interesting that is unique only to it, like warmer, richer nutrients, hypoxic, etc. Oh, okay, I know what. Okay.
We talked about dark oxygen a little bit when the article came out, but it's like very new and uncertain right now. So research is still out on it.
It's like an ambiguous source of oxygen and the depth, which isn't necessarily plant related, right? I think
I'm
at least.
forgetting exactly what it was. Somebody
Yeah,
posted an article in our Discord.
Yeah, I think it was just ambiguously sourced like oxygen, I think.
I remember something about lithotrophy, like a metal breaks down and that makes oxygen off of something, and then you can like make a biosphere on that or something. I'm a great scientist, you can tell.
Yeah. I mean, I think regardless, it can help. We can go with OG oxygen for now, yeah. If for some reason there is oxygen at the bottom of the ocean when there isn't a logical reason for that being in our game, we can blame it on dark oxygen for the meantime. So that's at least one call out we can do. But as to the other part of the question, which is talking about unique characteristics of the patches, I think that's vaguely resembling the concept that I think Titan brought up a while ago on the development forums, where each patch can have a unique trait. For example, there could be a, I don't know, extra, like they mentioned, extra nutrient trait, which increases the phosphate and ammonia accessibility, or a strong currents trait, which makes currents stronger in the patch. When we get to the point of discussing dynamic environments and the planet Ender, I think answers to that will be more likely. And I do like it as a concept, but if there's something else we can do that is easier on the programmers and provides similar results, then that's probably what we would go with. Unless anyone else has other points to bring up. Okay, I'll move on to question 3.
We didn't end up with a terrorist on stream this time, so...
Sad.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
A terrorist on stream, so there's no one to really talk about like this new scientific discovery and
a theorist, yeah.
How interesting it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Thrive can only work on what we know. It's hard to predict things with Thrive itself, so we might be a bit behind when it comes to the newest things in science. But if we read enough about it and we understand enough of it, then it could be implemented in some capacity.
Also, we need to be a bit careful to not implement something before it is accepted.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not scientific.
Yeah, it's just been discovered, so it's the right decision not to implement it because we still don't know much about it yet, so it's a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
So
I'll move on to... I'll go ahead.
Oh, so far we've never had to redact a feature in Thrive because the science was out of date.
But
so far.
I think at one point we were discussing some potential feature which like 2 years later was scientifically debunked. do I recall that right? Like there was some new kind of thing being discovered, and someone talked about maybe we could like we drive it, but then later it was discovered that it wasn't actually like proper scientific discovery or something like. So
I don't recall that.
So by being lazy and not implementing something for a few years, we avoided scientific inaccuracy in the game.
Yeah, well, look at that. That's the reason why we did it. Yeah, okay. I'll move on to question number 3 for now. If you never do anything, you can't be wrong. Yep. Question number 3. Who do you think is the most influential personality when it comes to the game? I don't know. We have a lot of personalities on board.
But also HH.
Yeah, HH, yeah. He's definitely been the Hercules of the team, that's for sure. And he interacts the most with the community, largely, so he's on everything, and he sees everything. Also, Olive River, too, because he was kind of the face of a new influx of, work, or a new fans a few years ago. So a lot of people knew him a lot. And his music, too, because, his music is kind of ever on YouTube.
Oliver came into the Discord chat and said, "I really hope to see the new Auto Evo in," and I was like, "Awesome." And then
Look at
Oliver
that.
did not say a thing again.
Well, he's busy doing something else, I assume.
Senpai noticed me. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And by me, I mean you, Game Dungeon. But still, Senpai noticed you.
There we go. I'll say Fim's video is also kind of influential because it kind of on Auto Evo, especially his lawn yelling bit, it's kind of referenced a lot by us on the development team and the community. So, and I think I have the biggest ego on the team because I named my username after God in Latin. So there's that. But moving on. Question number 4. Give me scores between 1 and 10. 10 is the best, in your opinion, regarding the following things: vision of the game, gameplay, pace of work, community, communication. Okay, there's a lot of things here, so we'll go by one by one, I think. From 1 to 10, how would you guys rate the vision of the game?
With vision and scope, it does have to be a 10. That's one thing Scribe does really well. Saying we want to add everything.
Yeah, we have a lot of vision. And I guess if you think about it from short term, like in terms of like, okay, how do we achieve this part of things? I'd say it's pretty decent in terms of our concepts. We have a decent kind of like process of figuring out things. So maybe a 7 or 8 short term. But yeah, 10 or 11 overall. Let's see. Gameplay. What do you guys think of the gameplay between 1 and 10? Seven.
I agree
Okay.
with them there. 7.
7, yeah. I'll give it a 6 or
Put down a
7.
number, assuming that other people were going to put down a bunch of numbers. But now it's just me.
Yeah, everyone type some numbers, please. Make them feel better. 6.5. Okay. What other numbers? Come on. 7. Okay. So we're averaging around 7. Okay, yeah, I say 6 or 7 too. It's getting fun, but there's, especially as a designer, I think like this, there's a lot of ways to improve it. So there's a room for improvement, that's for sure. Pace of work. 5. Oh man, our lowest rating so far. Come on, more numbers. Put numbers, come on. 1 to 10. 7, 10, 4.
I'm
Okay.
voting 10 because we do as much as we can. Like we can't do any more.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the nature of
4.
a mostly volunteer project, with the exception of HH, our full-time dev.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good selection of numbers right there. Averaged out to like what? Like around 6, 7.
I think HH's number counts for double.
Okay, so 8. Okay, community. Oh, we have a perfect community. Everyone put a 10 right now. Come on. 10's in the chat. 11. 10, 10, 10, 12. Okay, there we go. That's a high number. Yeah, we have a good community. 9. Come on, man. What's wrong with you? We have a good community, I think. They're always there, for a lot of the kind of crawls we go through, and they have a very good understanding of, the nature of the volunteer project. So, really thankful for you guys.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
the fact
absolutely.
that... Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of support from the community. A lot of very understanding, very patient as well. Hanging around. Some people have been in the community for so long, sort of waiting for this game to actually get to being well developed and really fun to play, and waiting for most of the features that just haven't been there for so long. Yeah, it's very appreciable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one thing I want to mention is that I wish that the community caused like more natural like word of mouth or outreach type of impact for the game. Like I feel like we are sort of lacking kind of a natural growth where some community members would manage to like passively invite new members.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
it's not on like...
because the next point, which is communication. Like, well, okay, the clarification in the question is something else, but like I'd personally make this about like the outreach effectiveness, which has been like pretty dead like for the past 2 years, and I'm now trying to revive it, and it's taking quite a lot of extra time to make all of those social media posts and try to think when there's something interesting to try to post there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
It's
don't
not
really
like...
have a proper outreach member right now.
Yeah, we don't have anyone. So like if we had one like really enthusiastic outreach person, like I think that single person could like 10x like the development resources we have by being effective in outreach. Like I think we and everyone else is like majorly not realizing the core importance of outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, voice crack. Yeah. And that's not on the community members themselves exclusively. It's like us not having an outreach member. There's not a lot of energy being sent towards things that would get like art contests or things like that working. But yeah, that's something we could definitely improve in terms of creating these avenues for our community members to express themselves and put Thrive a bit more on the map, basically.
Yeah, I'd highlight the putting Thrive on the map point, because right now we are losing money each month by me working full time, so this is not sustainable development pace. We need to somehow get more people to learn about Thrive each day in order to grow the community and get more community members who are willing to financially support the project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the thing we need to improve upon the most, I guess. Putting up more outreach efforts and communications externally to our community, and avenues of discovery for Thrive. So that includes things like YouTube, Reddit. I know can be pretty big sometimes. Concept art, engagement, things like that.
So yeah, if people ask what your favorite video games are, you have some options. There's plenty of stuff to link to, stuff to talk about. Hint, hint,
Yeah.
wink, wink.
Yeah, and if you see anyone talking about how good Spore was or how disappointing it was. Like jump in there immediately and say Thrive.
Yeah, don't even ask questions. Just jump in.
Yeah, I mean, usually when those come up, there's someone on Reddit to comment that Thrive exists. But once I saw that no one had mentioned Thrive yet, so it was one case where I was disappointed that no one had realized Thrive exists.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then
next
someone
time
says, Go ahead.
You go.
Okay, I was going to say, then someone says, well, Thrive never accomplished anything. And now you can say 3D skin.
Yep. In 2025, just say that.
3D skin 2025. There's your soundbite. Don't explain.
Yep. Next time
Go
I hear
Minions.
someone in the grocery store talking about Spore, I'm gonna mention Thrive, because that happens a lot. Okay. If no one else has anything to add, I'll move on to question 5 from Doom Lightning. If there happens to be a wider and more accessible option, not like now, it's quite sparse unfortunately, of mods, what mods do you think the community will add to the game, bidding on customized processes and organelles? That's a good question.
Issue with modding in Thrive is generally if you would be a good modder, you would also be a good developer. So people just end up on the dev team.
Yeah, that's true.
So any
I
mods
think
that are
that-
created are
that's
probably
happened with
just
me.
not fit for the game itself, like the main game.
Yeah, I think there are going to be more modders when the game is released fully. You know, when we have the wall picture, you know, like aware stage. When the aware stage is done, pretty much, there's going to be more mods, I guess.
I know Hexspot Philosopher, I think, was a modder before he joined the dev team.
Yeah, that's right. I really need to update my mods. Actually, I haven't touched them for ages. Well, I mean, one of them was the Ferroplast, which is now in the game anyway. But the breakfast one, I think, could do with some love.
Oh yeah.
Haven't checked it for a while. I'm not even sure if it actually works properly now. So yeah, I need to work on that. But yeah, I'll probably make other mods, or maybe a kind of combined mod in the future for kind of anything that I feel I really want to add to the game and can't kind of persuade the team to allow it to be added in. I could just make a mod for it. So I'll probably do that at some point.
I also think a lot of it would just be like, for the self stage at least, like, adding different patches. So that includes like different assets, different conditions, things like that. And graphical reworks. Kind of like what Hexspot Philosopher did. Oliver just put 42. Welcome. I don't know to what at least, but I assume that's
Just saw a
gameplay.
bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
Crap, think of a number.
Okay. I have no idea of the context. I just wanted to join in with posting numbers. Well, there we go. That's groupthink right there. Question number 5. Wait, no, question number 6. What group of animals do you want, in case all the conditions are met, hypothetically, will you create in the game? For example, Doom Lightning always wanted to create starfish in the game, but they don't have blood, gills, bones, kidneys. And he thinks it'd be interesting to create something like a Portuguese man of war. Oh wow, look at that. What would you guys like to put or create in the game eventually?
If crabs don't evolve on their own, that's clearly a bug in Auto Evo that needs to be fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crabification.
definitely.
I'd make something like a crocodile, I think. I don't know.
I'd just really like to make dinosaurs, really.
Yeah, me too. I like the idea of a creature that goes between, water or land or water or the air. So That's kind of like my area of interest.
Have you heard of this thing called a frog?
No, those are lame. I'm talking about crocodile. They eat frogs, I think.
Well, now I don't like crocodiles.
Well, that's your problem. I've always wondered what Higher Lenin would like to create eventually. Besides Thrive, of course.
I don't really have any preference.
Mm.
I'm much
Look at
more
that.
looking forward to making like Space Empires and, well, making the game in general.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a Solaris player on our team. Mr. 42 from our comment said, "I want to make 20 types of grass and try to explain how they live together without out-competing each other." I think someone else would like to do that too. Okay. Final question from Doom Lightning, which is our final priority question. If you could directly add something, what interesting challenge would you add to the game? Doom Lightning mentions a late bloomer condition where you're not the first multicellular creature to evolve, and you have to compete others with evolved into earlier multicellularity. Because there have been 20 cases of multicellularity evolving by itself. Interesting, like a conditions or scenario kind of thing, like in Civ, I guess. I don't know. Does anyone think of anything in particular, or
We've always talked about like scenario like preset planets at least, like in
Yeah,
Ice
yeah.
World or Earth.
Yeah, that's probably the best way we would go about it from a development perspective. Yeah, that would be cool, I think. It could create patches that are like, if we create a pretty robust environmental system, it could be about manipulating the numbers and mechanics in a way that makes certain patches more likely to appear than others. So that'd be cool. Bathwater Epoch.
I've no idea what that means.
I wonder if there'll be elaboration.
The universe starts out too hot for life, and now space is too cold for life, so somewhere in between, it was the temperature of a nice warm bath.
Oh,
Oh, right.
Life
so
before
space whales.
plants.
Huh. Interesting.
I like the idea of having a planet with just one small island, and basically pretty much the smallest possible island that you could have to have life sort of fully developing on land. I'm not entirely sure how that would play out though.
Because they'd have to make the civilizations on that land.
It's like a very competitive island in a way. Interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of a battle royale, I guess. I don't know. That'd be cool. C09 mentioned they'd make a mod that makes AI very, very overpowered as a challenge. Yeah, like super aggressive AI and things like that. I don't know if you could put a zombie mode in Thrive somehow, because that's always pretty fun in games. Okay, well, that's it from Doom Lightning. They mentioned I guess that's it. Thanks a lot for continuing developing your game. It's starting to take shape with every passing moment. Cheers. Appreciate that. And that's it from the priority questions. Should we answer some questions from the chat or
Yeah, I
questions
think we
from
should
the thread?
take a few in a row from chat because these were pretty long questions.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so 50 Gens asks, who is also a community member, so welcome. Are pressures food sources? I assume this is in reference to Auto Evo and Misha's.
Yeah. A couple of the pressures have energy scores with them. So that's how the population calculation works. The pressures will give energy to the creatures inside them. We don't have too many that do that right now. It's mostly the capstone niches. But maybe in the future that'll increase.
But then some selection pressures are like, don't get eaten, or like, be able to osmoregulate, which doesn't give you food, it just makes you not dead.
Yeah.
Think of it as a super category of what the food source system used to be.
Related question from Dave in chat: how will Misha's affect species that are not life as we know it? Which I think is something that Flem brought about a good amount.
Yeah, really it almost does nothing right now, just because the life as we know it just kind of restricts the total possibilities of parts that can emerge, which I hope that if we are restricted to life as we know it, the mutation algorithms will not pick those parts. But besides that, Mishas pretty much work the same either way. I could definitely see a world where, non-lock abilities and environments could lead to new Mishas that don't exist in normal environments. We currently don't support that. Mish creation is definitely a new art of how life can survive.
There was a bug in the code actually that it didn't check for log mode originally, so all AI species with the Mishas initially just all got a thermoblast, even if log was on. But that was fixed.
That's good. I do wonder if it's...
You go.
Sorry? Go ahead.
Oh, I was wondering if a hard mode setting only AI gets non-lock stuff. You have to compete with thermoblasts.
That'd be
More
interesting.
AI cheating.
Yeah. East asks, hello, are different behaviors and ways of hunting for different creatures in the creature stage planned? Yes, we're not sure how exactly yet. We've not reached that point of discussing in the behavior editor. And I assume it'd be locked behind a certain level of sentience, the more complex social behavior, but I assume it'd be a slider between sociality in terms of behavior and pack behavior and things like that, and a more solitary nature. So yeah, but we don't have much on that right now. We'd like to get to a point where there is hunting at all in the creature stage before that. And Mr. 42 in the chat asks, speaking of community, will we get our contest back one day? Yeah.
As mentioned by Mr. 42, we really need a social media community manager.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we really do. So if someone wants to join the team and do that, that's absolutely a very critical function.
Yeah, the answer to this question is that if we get someone who can regularly run it, like I think the reason it was like stopped is that because the person running the contest and picking the winner, etc., just became inactive. So we just had to like archive that Discord channel because there was no one running it anymore.
So the question is, do you want to be the change you want to see in this world?
Yep. Should we as a team offer a position on the fictional development team that deals with this sort of stuff, or do you think it should be more organic with the community?
I mean, the outreach team exists for a reason. We've just barely ever had people apply for it.
Yeah, if you guys, this is kind of a very, I don't know, not shady, but kind of like a part of it. If you guys want access to some cool behind the scenes things, and you guys are capable of running social media platforms, and you get to see some of the development of Thrive. So there's a bonus for you as well, if you'd like to apply and you have some experience with managing social media. So yeah, be the change you want to be. That's our official answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, join the team. I'm sure you'd easily be able to, do that kind of thing with your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I assume that's it for the chat
there
questions
was
as
one
well.
more chat question. Someone was again like asking about pronunciation of my name or something like that.
Oh, someone did ask that.
How do you pronounce it?
I mean, it was more like some like the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Oh.
Thing like
Since,
To me as a Finnish person, like Finnish is almost like, well, okay, some of the symbols are different, but like as Finnish is phonetically written, like you can things are pronounced exactly the way they are written. So you just need to know the Finnish equivalent of the IPA letters to read any Finnish.
There's an answer. Mr. 42 says, I think this should be the last question from the chat for now before we go to the forums, and we can go back later. Mr. Tomato, while working on Misha's, and this is addressed to Game Dungeon effectively as well, since he ported over Misha's. While working on Misha's, have you seen a species that spams chloroplasts or thermoplasts?
Honestly, I think I haven't tested Misha's enough with the lock inactive that thermoplasts were in play. That was probably a vulnerability in my testing. As far as chemoplasts or chemosynthesis, that was the other question, right?
Chloroplasts, sorry.
Chloroplasts. I have seen relatively little, few chloroplasts. I think occasionally one in the deep sea, but that's very rare compared to the old system. And then, really a moderate amount of plants in the sunlight. Probably not as many as I would have liked to see. But, I mean, the way Misha's work is it really says for each specialization there's really one slot and you've got to fight for it. Which is why, unlike in the old system, you don't tend to see everybody just kind of grabbing a little bit of everything into the shopping cart and having one part of every type. Although you still get definitely vestigial parts, and I think occasionally you're seeing some parts added just to kind of add dry mass. I don't know what you think, Dungeon.
Specifically in this case, being smaller is an advantage because if you're fast, you can't get eaten, and having more chloroplasts really doesn't do much for you unless you need additional energy. So they tend to stay very small.
There were some upgrade proposals to the chloroplast proposed in the upgrade forum, development-wise. I wonder if implementing those variants will allow different niches to show up. For example, I remember there's one called there's some sort of upgrade to the chloroplast that makes it more effective in low light conditions, in exchange for some effectiveness in, normal light conditions. So I wonder if that could introduce some spice to it, but yeah.
I guess that would make it handier in polar regions?
Yeah, polar regions and, in the deeper, I forgot the name of the region of the ocean, but right below the surface where some of the sunlight drops off.
Epipelagic, where it's like 1% effectiveness?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I still don't think that in the epipelagic biome you can even get like a creature of pure chloroplasts to be able to survive by itself, just because 1% is so low.
Yeah, maybe it needs a buff, but
that and the
might be
fact
something.
that Thrive is a universe where plants can and arguably should get up and run away at any time, that, an important adaptation for a tree is the ability to pick up and run. So, Auto Evo accounts for that because it's accurate to the game.
Yeah. Also, a lot of like the sessile plant adaptations, I think, showed up with multicellular, macroscopic life, where chloroplasts are pretty widely used in protists that are motile and photosynthetic. So I think there's a pressure we have to investigate with larger or more macroscopic multicellular organisms that we should introduce and replicate and thrive.
Multicellular is coming up.
Yep, after 2025. Okay, that'll be it from the chat for now. I'd say we move on to the community questions.
Well, I did Google it and I found this handy chart that says which IPA characters match which Finnish characters, and looking at it, it looks like there's pretty much a one-to-one mapping, but except the A. Of course, the letters that Finnish has, but English doesn't. Those are different, but otherwise, it's almost like one-to-one mapping from IP8 Finnish.
Mm.
In case someone
That's useful.
wanted to know.
For that one question in the chat, that's very useful.
Yeah, very, very useful. And well, maybe someone will tell us that there exists a language that has like a consistent writing system.
Yeah, a lot of people will. I know it's a bit more complicated, and I speak Arabic. It's more complicated in Arabic, so there's a bit of simplicity. That's useful. Okay. Moving on to the community question.
Yeah, I could put the general pre-stream questions.
Oh, okay.
So that should be visible.
Okay, is it showing now? Because it's still on the priority questions for me, at least. But I'm looking for the chat in general. Or I'm looking for the. Okay, I see it.
Shame we don't have Buckley here to answer about bioluminescence again.
Yeah. Question 1 from 31415. How do you think bioluminescence will work in game? Buckley would say that, or have more thoughts on that. But a lot of concepts before focused on kind of like bioluminescence acting like a spotlight in darker patches or low light patches, where creatures need it, or cells need it to know where they are. But in actuality, cells don't look and perceive the world through a visual context, or most of them don't. Some of them do have some sort of detection, but a lot of them don't really visualize their environment by using light. So that would be kind of an abstraction scientifically that we've decided so far is a bit beyond what we want as part of our simulation. Probably I think if nothing else, it would be kind of a way for if, for example, you want your species to flash a certain color while it's fleeing from a predator, turn red when that happens or something like that. Maybe that's something we can justify, but obviously it has limited utility. And honestly, as far as I'm aware, it was evolved for social purposes or some sort of like behavior altering purposes in cells. So it could be as simple as cosmetics in a way, or through that altering behavior.
Buckley did a lot of research into why it developed originally, and I think one suggestion was like the chemical process helps with surviving in oxygen-rich environments. But I could be wrong about that.
Oh yeah, C09 mentioned. Yeah, I read something about that too, where it was kind of like evolved initially as a very kind of primitive, quote unquote, way to respond to oxygen. So yeah, maybe that could be another aspect of it too, where it provides some oxygen tolerance. But yeah,
When environmental tolerances are added as
yeah,
a feature.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think that's a pretty good answer for a pretty generic or pretty common question. Question 2. What is the most annoying thing about developing Thrive? Well, I think you guys would have the programmers would have a better understanding of this than I do.
Well,
You're not randomly changing things.
I have a pretty non-technical answer because I think like all technical things, like you can eventually solve those, but like stuff like there being like constantly new bug reports. So like if we try to respond to those like quickly, then we end up not doing any new features because the bug reports take all the time. Or alternatively, as maybe the most annoying thing is that I need to be now constantly thinking about outreach efforts because we need to try to like quote unquote forcefully grow the Thrive community in order to keep the project going. So that's taking away more of my mental energy that I could use the game itself to think about how to make sure the game can have a future.
I really love Godot, but in some ways, I really hate Godot. It's a great engine, but it's rough around the edges in some places, especially on Linux.
Yeah, I'd love if there was like 1 or 2 Godot engine releases that don't allow any new features, just purely bug fix. Like that would be so excellent.
I agree. I agree with you, folks.
Well, a big takeaway from this stream is that we need a social media manager or an outreach person. So send in those applications. You get to see some development happen on Discord. Okay.
Well,
Oh,
for me, the kind of probably the most irritating thing for me a lot of the time is kind of working on something that kind of requires new coding features that I'm not sort of well versed enough in C# to be able to implement. So I'm kind of having to do things that I can't necessarily test, and then that means I'm having to kind of wait around or juggle multiple things at the same time. Although to be fair, I tend to do that anyway, so it's not not really much of an issue. But
Speaking on
yeah,
that,
just because of the kind of slightly disjointed way that volunteer-based things are done, really.
Speaking on that, Thrive and specifically HH has made me quite a bit of a better programmer over time from all the feedback I've gotten and learning C# to do stuff in Thrive.
there you go. Put that in your resume. Yeah. Okay. I guess we'll proceed to Willow's questions now, and then I think we'll, if there are more questions from the.
We have
I'll go ahead.
questions.
Okay, so we alternate.
New ones have come in, or
okay. Should we alternate between form and chat? I guess.
Yeah,
okay.
let's do that because that's better for the stream chat to keep their attention.
Yeah, good point.
I guess there's at least one question on the stream chat on screen right now asking about the microsystem.
Oh, mucosist. The mucosist. What the F is mucosist? It's basically like a lot of cells are able to produce a cell shield. A lot of cells produce sort of this mucus substance that they can either expel or use internally. Some of them, if they react to unfavorable environmental conditions like toxins or it's too hot, too cold, too much pressure, things like that, they can expel a mucus, like a lot of mucus that eventually hardens a bit and forms into this test. It's called a testy. And it basically allows the organism to hide away from unfavorable conditions until it is more favorable, then it melts. So we kind of appropriate that into being a shield that you can use to protect yourself from toxins or engulfment, things like that, at the cost of mobility. It probably needs some balancing right now because it kind of nullifies every single aspect of damage that you might receive. But that's where community feedback comes in. So, yeah, it's implemented in Thrive. It's a new feature. Oh, I saw a question. Oh, Tabat asks a question. He says, question for Deuce. What do you think about organ editing in a Ware/macroscopic editor? We talked a bit about this a while ago, and honestly, the solid conclusion is it's a bit too far out to fully make predictions about it. But I think a lot of it corresponds to the internals functions in the microbe stage right now, where it can determine your metabolism and some of your abilities, like toxin production and things like that. So there is a general idea of its correspondence, and like we have a concept for a pretty well established concept for digestion and ingestion and things like that. So it does relate to those stats, but as far as like actually tweaking organs, we don't know much about that yet. Okay. We'll go to the community forums for now, unless someone else has something to add. But Willow asks, now that we have process toggling, are sensory organelles going to be able to toggle processes automatically? And how long do you think it will be until thylakoids are split into what thylakoids do in real life and carbon fixation? Oh yeah, I remember that. I don't know if you guys remember, but Maxonovian, like a while back ago, mentioned that they couldn't get thylakoids to show up only in light conditions because it had aspects of carbon fixation implemented already. So that's an interesting question. I think there could be. It depends on the programmer what they want to do. There could be kind of conditions we put in where if a certain condition is met, perhaps the process can shut off automatically. But that requires more work, and it depends on if a programmer is willing to take up on that. So for that, it depends on the programmer's availability and their desire to implement things.
Yeah, that's the answer, that if someone really likes that, they need to implement it themselves, because I'm not going to put that on like the micro roadmap. So
yeah, it sounded like someone else had something to say.
I think I originally implemented something like that for Rubisco, and then ECS happened, so I kind of gave up on that PER because we had a lot of gameplay design issues with it.
Yeah, okay, so it might be worthwhile to revisit Rubisco, but that's a lot of balancing that'll need to be done. We might need to focus, with the Auto Evo revamp, there's a lot of other balancing that needs to be done. So I guess it's in the backlog of possibilities, but we'll see how possible or how we get to it. And honestly, I think the thing with parts in the markup stage is they signify specific niches more than they do, specific metabolisms. Where they obviously do represent metabolism, but realistically, when we put in thylakoids, we're thinking, okay, we want to represent a photoautotrophic organism that is, autotrophic. So that's our mechanism of representing those species, and it might obviously varies a bit from actual implementation, where carbon fixation is its own separate process, and that's something we have to look at more so. But I think as of now, it works fine. We'll see what we need to do with it further more as we see more about dynamic environments and things like that. Question 2: how are you doing? How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yep, good.
2 goods. Okay. Any bads right now? Good, but kind of bored sometimes. Fair enough. Good as well. Cool. Okay. So, thankfully, we have a seemingly pretty happy team. Okay. We'll go to a chat question. I see Swiss Bliss asks, what stage are you most excited to get to in development? This is a common question again, and my answer is always the macroscopic aware stage and late multicellular. I don't know about you guys. Same for C09.
Society will be pretty fun. There's a lot of social dynamics you can simulate.
I know Harry Lennon mentioned space empires, so I assume the space stages.
I think this time I would say society stage, because thinking about the place the game is in that point, it would be really interesting, because we would have awakening stage done and move into the society stage. That means that we have the most marketable part of the game done, and we are like going to do like the rest of the games like gameplay foundations like in the strategy view. So like that's going to be like really interesting to like really grow the Thrive community and probably get a ton of developers interested in the game at once, because we have like basically the whole game open, like people who care about like empire management aspects they can help with the society states, and people who like the earlier parts can still come and contribute to those. So I think we might even have like multiple parallel development teams at that point. So that's pretty interesting to think about. And well, if we ever get there, I think at that point like Thrive cannot fail anymore. So that would be quite a big relief.
Yeah, that's true. Another
I
question.
think
Go
I'm kind
ahead.
of most excited about the kind of late multicellular and the aware stages, and I guess kind of having stuff that you don't necessarily have in many other games, whereas with kind of the society stages and the kind of later ones, it's kind of there'll be quite a lot of overlap with a lot of other games, and I kind of feel like it's kind of less explored areas in the kind of the bits before that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I'm in a similar boat with the Awakening stage. I feel like that's pretty unspecified in our vague ideas of how Thrive is going to look. So I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities for what you do at that time.
Yeah. Okay, it's cool. We have a nice blend of interests in the dev team, whereas on the forums it does seem like the aware stage and the late multicellular stage kind of takes a lot of attention. So it's good there's that balance here.
I think people believe those stages might happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay. I'll move on to the question on the forums from Silentium Noxy. I believe that's how it is. Question 1, I'm waiting improvements for the first multicellular phase between, unicellular and macro life. What is your plans about it? No, that's a good question. The early multicellular stage, I think, I don't know if other people want to step in here too, but I think it's kind of like, the way I see it, it's kind of like a free-for-all, kind of chaotic peak of the microbe stage mechanics, where you just have these souped up crazy creations that are stuck to each other, and you have just somewhat broken builds of trying to figure out, okay, this works, this doesn't work, what would happen if I do this, what would happen if I do this. I think if we go about it from that mentality, it kind of like lets us think of things in a very kind of organized way. But beyond that, we don't have too many plans that are not already on the forums.
A good question is, like, at what point do we actually decide to start talking about design for multicellular and stuff? Because for most of the time, we're just like, it's in the future, we'll deal with it then. But we're almost there.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted something on the forums, just now, which Hylander replied to, kind of like doing that as well. So I would like to get that conversation going too, but there are some things that we need to focus on immediately for the microbe stage first. So yeah, because also, I'll go ahead.
We already like have the feature roadmap for the microbe stage, but yeah, there are a few a bit unclear items in there. But I think microbe stage is like a mostly solved thing, mostly just needing some like balancing efforts from the game design team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be like the case that early next year we are going to run into a problem where we should be implementing early multicellular features, but there aren't enough design for them.
Yeah. And I think, well, I also think that like when we reach the 9.0 stage, for the microbe stage, we might think backwards and be like, okay, there might be this aspect of the game missing. What kind of idea that we had before that we dismissed, but might be useful here. So that might happen on a small scale, I think. But, you know, like you said, we'll see when we get to that point.
We need to be careful though to not start to add too many features to the microbe stage right at the end, because then we never get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
I think at
Remember
the
that-
end we need to purely focus on like the new player experience. Like what happens when a new player plays Drive? Do they have a good time? Can they get into the game properly? Like those are critical points that have to be done. But like a few extra fleshing out features in microbe stage, I think we should just skip those and instead make the early multicellular features make it feel like it's a proper part of the game, like faster than
Remember that.
more
Remember that
stuff.
1.0 isn't the end of the microbe stage, so we can drip features still into the microbe phase
Yeah.
even after.
Yeah, but I kind of expect a similar thing, like right now with the prototypes, like someone works on them like once every 3 or 6 months. Like I think microbe stage will suffer a similar fate once we say, all right, it's all about early multicellular now. So
That's true.
So
go ahead.
any big micro features are going to take like really long time to like first be designed and then to get through code review when they aren't being prioritized anymore.
That is true, but I also think that part of the reason why little work happens on the prototypes themselves is because the concepts are not there fully fleshed yet. Whereas with the microbe stage, once we go past it, we'll have some fleshed out concepts that probably did not make it into the game. So it's more a matter of, okay, looking back, which one do I want to put in, things like that. So I do think, you know, like you said, it will drop off a bit, but I do think there will be possibilities of contributions for that too.
Don't want to write something for a prototype and just have it wiped because we changed the code structure too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's like the big worry for the prototype, where it's like, okay, I did this for the prototype, and then, a year and a half basically, oh, that doesn't work anymore. We don't want to do that. So there goes all that effort.
I have a hunch once the more complex stages are in active development and it's easy enough to add a feature to them, that not a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I want to go back to the microscopic stage of the blobs and add this thing to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Something
Okay,
that
well.
I'd quite like to see in the multicellular stages, having it at some point kind of go from the sort of multicellular colony type thing to something more like a kind of, what you think of as a multicellular creature, and kind of maybe the cells getting closer together and not all sort of having their own flagella and stuff like that. Something that would be kind of, going towards the macroscopic type of thing. And then, having extra kind of movement options is definitely something I'd like to see for that. Kind of having a system eventually brought in to kind of have the whole thing kind of wiggling about and sort of moving as a single creature rather than a colony.
Yeah.
Before actually getting to the 3D stage.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very interesting part of our development. It's kind of like an awkward point of, okay, it's still micromechanics, but something else entirely, leading up to something else very different. So it is a kind of an awkward part of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move on to question 2 from this one post. We're still on the same post. That's crazy. I think unicellular gameplay requires more development for macro life. For example, membranes must be locked similar to organelles. Okay, there's a concept for that. Chaining behavior reactions of cell via special organelles. That's a different thing entirely. We might investigate that, but it might not be, canon, I guess. Rebalance unlock organelles. Oh, interesting. That's a feedback question. So if they have feedback on that, or if anyone has feedback on that, give us that. But their question at the end is, what is your roadmap for cellular life? Well, we have a roadmap that we're going through, and we mentioned before. So
Yeah, we already posted the link. I'll post a link to the general feedback thread where if you play the release and have something to say, you can say it there.
yeah, absolutely. And the roadmap is on the developer wiki, so they can access that and see what is planned kind of for the immediate wake of Harlanden's focus. Okay. Were there any other questions from the chat, or was it less so?
There's one that I'd like them to elaborate on. Would
Okay.
most of the game be more of procedural gameplay?
Oh, that's a broad question. I mean, the editor is ultimately procedural in the macroscopic stage.
I mean, is this question about like emergent gameplay?
Oh, emergent, yeah.
Because like we've talked about this before, that like Drive doesn't have like a plot or anything like that, and we try to not have the sales be too smart. So basically, all gameplay is emergent in Drive. Like that's one of the core pillars, besides the procedural evolution simulation.
Yeah.
More interesting stuff will happen in later stages where, because microbes aren't very intelligent, but when we have like empire simulations, more cool stuff can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back on the question earlier about different types of hunting, I'm sure that some of that should be kind of an emergent thing. So, for instance, kind of species that are more sessile don't really have kind of a very high metabolism to be able to output loads of energy and have sort of bursts of speed would be kind of more likely to find ways to hunt that would be sort of ambushing like a crocodile might, or maybe sort of setting up a trap, a web, something like that. I think that kind of thing should be possible, and that could sort of add interesting things to the gameplay.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we'll swing away from the chat. Oh wait, 50 Gens asked, is the disturbance multicellular or aware? Aware, right?
It is
It looks pretty aware.
underwater.
It's underwater? What?
Disturbance is aquatic.
Wasn't it in like a forest scene or something like that?
I thought I could be wrong.
Hold on.
Like I thought that for sure it was above water, and its like primary thing was that it has really good hearing, and it is some kind of pretty large predator.
I remember concept art of this thing in a forest, which I had presumed
just
was
be
above
wrong
water,
then.
but it's not necessarily true.
Okay, it's foresty, but it looks kind of like a kelp forest, so I think either way works.
How crazy is that? We're confused about our own mascot.
But does it have a brain?
It looks like it could have a brain, like the whole, where its face would
It should
be.
surely have a brain to process like the echolocation, which it probably uses because it doesn't have any eyes.
Okay, I'm gonna say it probably is a forest, but the leaves are very kelpy, and there's a lot of bubble-like stuff, so it's easy to be confused.
Or maybe that's meant to be ambiguous by the author. Oh man.
How disturbing.
Yeah. Oh, how disturbing.
I think we need to pick up the pace a bit if we want to
Okay.
like reach all of the pre-stream questions.
Okay, we'll do.
I think we can do
okay.
these next two questions like them simultaneously. These are pretty similar.
Yeah, okay. What would you say is the most fun thing about developing Thrive, and what feature would you want to add but don't see happening? What's the most fun thing about developing Thrive for you guys?
For me, it is seeing the feedback for releases when it's usually like mostly positive. Like you can feel like we've done a good job. We've released a new build of the game that people are enjoying.
Mm-hmm. I like seeing concepts that were long-standing, and these question marks for such a long time get implemented, like endosymbiosis, for example, or the pilot, like 5 years ago when that was implemented. That was a very big thing back then.
Looking back and reminding myself that the game has in fact changed a ton.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and features
I
you'd
love seeing
want to add.
people. Go ahead.
No, I'm about done.
Okay. I love seeing people take the ideas that we worked on and talked about and coded, and then finding new depths and mechanics and bugs and funny exploits to it, and like just kind of adding life to it by playing with it like you're supposed to with a game.
Yeah.
The feature I most wanted to see added was the 3D membranes. Now that has been added. I'd say probably the bioluminescence. It's something I'd really like to see. I've been kind of hoping for that for a long time, but the difficulty deciding exactly how it will be implemented and the functioning and so on has kind of left it in the lurch for goodness knows how long now.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see more depth in the editor, like the size related costs and things like that. Maybe surface area, but yeah, that's might not happen, but it's not on the roadmap for now. Okay. Should we swing through the forum posts and then at the end go through some of the chat questions that we can look back at, or?
We can do a few more forum posts. I see there. Well, okay, there's some pretty easy to answer, but some we might get stuck on.
Okay.
Like I mean, if we like quickly cover like the DDR 4, is that the basic idea was that like Iron gameplay is too similar.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
Like the answer to this question is that like it's kind of against the goals of the Cider 4 feature. If there was also normal iron eating and that feature at the same time, so
yeah, it's kind of
unknown
like
whether both would be in the game when it is no longer an experimental feature. And then there's second question from Human, is that because there's some membranes that can't engulf, will there be some membranes that cannot dash? And well, I guess this is something that no one has thought of before, and well, it's a potential balancing change, but so far I haven't seen anyone else noticed this, so well,
probably
maybe.
Doesn't make sense that cell walls can dash.
Yeah, more rigid membranes probably, like calcium carbonate.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense in general that they can move effectively.
Yeah.
So like if they add flagellum to move, then like I think it would make sense for them to be able to dash with the flagellum. So it's kind of, I only see that if like from a game balance standpoint this is necessary, then it might get done, but otherwise probably an unnecessary complication to the system.
Yeah. But we'll see with balancing. Okay. Moving on to Cast 96's questions on the forum. What is the general consensus about the newly implemented convolution services? I think it's fair to say that we all like it. It's very nice to see in the game.
I think this is a question for the community actually. Like
Okay.
what do people think about it? Like
Well,
I think
those are my...
all of us developers are like really happy that it got added, but what's the community?
Yeah, well, those are my 2
thinking about?
cents along with the community. Okay. And question 2, what might the first iteration of the planet editor be like, and when might it come about in game? Would there be an option for pre-made planets? Yes, on the second question for scenarios. Game Dungeon might answer this question better since he put some thoughts towards that.
Primarily for the first generation, it'll probably be mostly back-end stuff. Like, we might have simulations for various things, but it'll be kind of hard to display them, like climate or temperature or whatever. So we'll see what it ends up looking like. Displaying everything will be hard.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Stay tuned for concepts, I'd say. Strategy game. Oh, that's just feedback on a prior question, it looks like.
Well,
He answered the question
I guess
for
we
us.
could clarify that I don't recall there being like splitting apart boss fate chunks or other chunk type similarly to the Siderov or a feature. So this is something that's not actually planned right now.
Yeah.
So
that's
just
true.
to clarify this maybe misconception.
There we go. And the last question from 50 Gens, who's also watching. Oh, this is a elaborate post right here. Okay. Question 1. This is an auto Evo question. Wouldn't it be better to try to make the niches emerge on their own and using an AI to name them and make the niche map? What do our auto Evo architecturists think?
How?
Yeah.
Sure, how would you do that? Maybe. There could be a brilliant... Go ahead, Game Dungeon.
If you can suggest how, that'd be great. I have no clue how you would make that work well.
And this is not us being exasperated and trying to mock anybody. This is just saying, yes, there might be a great innovation that makes this work better. But just leaving everything open, you got to put those constraints to actually make something functionally work. Maybe the Mish algorithm would be much better if it was more open and more generic, and Mishes were generated reflective of something. They are generated relative to the environment. If there's no iron, there's going to be no iron-related Mishes, for example. But, yeah, maybe. Design it. I'm happy to help you with it.
Okay. Question 2. Should bioluminescence really be in the game? There are 6 uses of bioluminescence. Oh, jeez.
I think,
Communication,
this seems something like we can't maybe answer right now, and we cannot force Buckley to answer this, so
yeah.
Maybe we'll skip this question for now and maybe come back to it at the end of the stream if we want to talk about bioluminescence again, because like we talked about it already.
I want to add something to the last question, though, the one about planning to build the Ascension Gate after Thrive or something. Maybe we could try to make a dinosaur game. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
This was actually the last question, this wall of text about bioluminescence. Well, I think if someone remembers to send this info to Buckley, or maybe someone else's turn is to be bothered by the bioluminescence to check if there are ideas we can incorporate from here.
Well, I think the idea about bioluminescence being usable to lure in prey that are sort of trying to move towards sunnier patches, that would certainly be something that could be implemented, but we'd have to kind of have variable sunlight in different areas in a patch first. But yeah, that could certainly be a doable thing. As for the rest, I think, but Buckley kind of suggested that it would basically work kind of the same as chemoreceptors. But yeah, exactly how it would be implemented, yeah, we're not quite sure.
Yeah. Long thing short, ask Buckley. We'll make him respond to you.
Or if you can find a theory team member who are very elusive in all of the community channels, maybe you can then ask them.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we take some chat questions. We're approaching the end of stream time, I believe.
Yeah, we can. Well, usually these are 2 hours long, so we'll maybe try to go for like about 10 more minutes with
Yeah.
responding to chat.
Okay.
Someone
Let's see.
would like to see that I can maybe show a bit of Drive gameplay
Yeah, there we go.
stream, maybe some new features. I eat my way to them. So stuff like that.
And I can skim through the chat question and bring up questions or interesting things I find in the chat to put it in a certain way. 50 gens. Do cells have cosmetics? In game, no. In real life, I think that's more sexual selection, so I don't think they have that sort of thing at such a scale without vision. Oh, I assume this is in reference to bioluminescence. Oh man, we cannot escape it. Yeah, that's the answer. What stage are you excited to get in development? Mucocyst is actually endospore? I don't know. Hire Leonin versus Deuce, who would win in terms of godness. He's the one developing most of the game, so him. Photoheterotrophy. Photosynthesis to generate ATP, but being unable to generate glucose. Is that a thing?
I thought the chemical reaction. Go ahead.
We discussed cycloids making directly ATP when Rubisco was a thing, and then it became not a thing.
Oh yeah, we had the whole conversation. Oh, Swiss Bliss. What is the funniest mistake you made developing this game? I don't know. What are some funny mistakes you guys found?
Probably like some kind of bug that was pretty funny, but ultimately like pretty harmless. That slipped through the testing. Like, why did no one test this?
Oh yeah.
Like, I can't like recall what was like the funniest, but like for this release or like not 0.6.7 I think, or maybe the one release earlier, that when we moved to God of War and a bunch of stuff broke. Like, I found it pretty funny that the editor timeline, the global and local buttons, like it took like almost like 4 months after those were broken for anyone at all to notice and tell us. Like, at that point I was like, I tested it and I was like, wow, this is like broken, and I was wondering like, does literally no one use this feature? Like, no developer got it and was also in the release candidate builds for multiple releases, and no one noticed it.
The box says banana biome.
No.
That's too traumatizing to consider that to be interesting.
The answer is no. Oh, I remember one time, me in Game Dungeon, Buckley posted something about like, I don't know, surface area and counting like hexes or whatever, like faces. Like we try to find, I don't know, he said something like the cell has 10 faces or whatever, and it was like 2 cytoplasms next to each other. And we counted something else, and we took like an hour trying to figure out how to count them up. So that was one thing.
Auto Evo produces a lot of fun stuff, but nothing particularly funny. Quite a few bugs. Always annoying to track down since I never get like an error. I just see something that's wrong.
Hmm.
I got a
Iron
species in
keeps-
Auto Evo that had infinity fitness score. That was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Also, the prediction bug that predicted that the player is always cannibalizing themselves was a bug in the new Auto Evo system.
It was also
After-
giving the player energy for sunlight, despite the fact the player, even if they were just a glucose.
Oh yeah. One question: after Thrive, Revolutionary Games are planning to build Ascension Gate. I don't know. I'd sell for just putting that in the game.
I mean, by the time Drive is complete, the technology level might be there for us to make an Ascension Gate next.
Yeah, honestly. 50 gens, bioluminescent. Oh god. Unicellular species require multicellular species. Should bioluminescence be a multicellular organelle? Yeah. Wait. Depends on the part of the multicellular.
If the oxygen thing is true, no.
Huh.
But we could have like
That's
locked
ugly.
the more advanced behaviors into multicellular, but it would be pretty interesting to have a part that kind of is useful in the micro stage, but then becomes really powerful later in the game. Like I think that would be interesting to have at least one such part.
I have considered trying to at least do the visuals for the bioluminescence and kind of get it in the game, even if there's no actual functionality to it for the moment. But I think once we get the environmental tolerances sorted out, then there'll be at least some function to it then, and we could maybe have that in the game just as, you know, something that's sort of well, I mean, potentially very useful for certain species, and that looks nice. But then, yeah, any other functionality would sort of have to come quite a bit later, in terms of sort of development and in terms of like evolutionarily.
Yeah. Funny. Will cells form tissues and then organs as you evolve? Yes, that's the plan. At least. We don't know exactly how, though. Yet. There are some ideas, but we need to see the best practice when we actually get to that point.
Well, and we need to consider like the development effort and cost of like time that way.
Yeah.
That's why I'm advocating for reusing the cell editor for making tissue types. Because we already have an editor that has probably has had like over thousands of hours of programming effort put into it. So do we want to spend another few thousand hours making a special tissue editor, or do we just think the cell editor is good enough?
Yeah, that's a good point. Miss 42 says, broke as we start playing Thrive. Yeah, that's the game we make. We change
I
passive
just
build.
saw the new nice phosphate chunk dissolve shader working correctly.
Someone is at the front door.
Oops. Oh, well, nice. I think that's largely it for questions from the chat.
I think I saw just one question.
Will you change
Or like-
passive growth with different percent of ammonia and phosphate in the biome?
Oh, like nutrient density. Oh. If,
I mean,
if that gets to a point where it's dynamic.
That could maybe be done. But then
Yeah.
like that messes with the generation to generation like time, how that's balanced. So do we want to balance that for like all possible values, or
Yeah, that's true.
Or not.
Okay,
I
anything
probably
else?
have to
Someone
include
commented
something
about
to.
like the clouds in the
Oh, they
chat.
spread everywhere, it looks like.
Like I wanted to comment on that very broad clouds. Like as far as I know, we've done 0 changes that should affect like the cloud gameplay at all. Purely the visuals have been changed.
Mm.
So if they look any different, it should be purely because, well, they look different, but the actual gameplay data they work with should be exactly the same as just release. And also I just noticed that this kind of shimmering effect around the edge of the screen is still there, sadly. But I guess it's kind of also resolution dependent because like playing full screened, it's barely noticeable, so I guess it's fine.
Chromatic aberration.
Yeah, I guess it's fine that I closed the bug because I hadn't seen that for a while, but I guess I wasn't playing at this small window size.
Mm.
And now I'm showing off the new damaging effect. And my cell died.
That's the average dive playthrough.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, patch extinction. I'm not playing on easy mode, so I won't be able to show the switch to related species feature. And well, I guess we've crossed the 2-hour mark, so we can start consider ending the stream. Actually,
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of things right now.
Quite quick drive gameplay this time. Just showing the new features like the migrate button and new assist.
More for them to discover.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very positive spin for not having much time on stream this time to play the game.
Yeah, so start playing right now. Figure it out.
Or, well, in a couple of minutes when we end the stream.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we have
Okay.
one final question from the chat to send us off along with this Drive Jazz team?
Seems like a lot of suggestions
Mr.
more so
42
than my
is at
questions.
least asking one final question.
Can we get customized buttons for each slime organelle? So one could press on the front and one could press on the bottom. Moving sideways. Yeah, if I mean it's possible, it's just about like if we can fit it in
Yeah,
terms of
that
programming
would be
activity. And that might be useful.
actually pretty huge
Yeah, okay.
change, and it would need GUIs and special cases in the input section, and like that's a huge feature. But so like I don't think we'll ever get that, but if someone really wanted that, well, we could theoretically make it work. But it would be a lot of effort, like also in like the activation code for all of the organelles, and the more I think about it, the less I want this feature, because it's going to affect so many different systems and require so many changes.
Well, there's the answer. Okay, I think that's a good way to wrap it off with a firm no to a request.
Well, it would have been nice to end on a positive note.
Yeah. Well,
I
think
see
the
one more
patch as a whole
question.
is a
Will you thrive?
Yes.
Maybe that's up to the community.
Maybe.
So actually, maybe
If you help
there you
us.
we'll end with the usual feel that Drive is an open source project, and like anyone who has any relevant game dev skills or outreach or public relations skills, you can help us make Thrive.
For money.
Yeah, or you can give us money so we can hire people to work on the game in your stead.
There we go.
So yeah, thank you everyone to come into the stream, and well, we'll say bye and end the stream.
Yep. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here and for all the support. We've come a long way.
Bye.
Right, bye everyone.
Bye, folks.